Blessings, everyone. Welcome to Spotlight. We have a really important and interesting program for you this evening. The Honorable Kedrick Pickering, the Minister of Natural Resources and Labor, is in the house. He just had a tour of the BVI Fishing Complex. We're going to be talking about fishing, the fishing complex, some of the expansion that's going on, his vision of fishing for the future. It's going to be very important information. And of course, this month is Child Abuse Prevention Month, and we're going to have members of the Social Development Department here to talk about child abuse prevention. So you keep it locked right here to Spotlight. I want to say, send out condolences to those families who've lost loved ones over the last few days, especially to the family of Dr. Pearl Valack, who was a soldier in the fight in service to our country. Certainly a very, very important person, served us in many, many capacities. So we want to send out our condolences to her family. Also, my good friend and schoolmate, Sadie Winter, I understand, passed, and we want to send our condolences to her family as well. She was a little ahead of me in secondary school, the old secondary school, but I remember her as one of the most beautiful sisters in the Virgin Islands at that time. So we want to share in the family sadness over her passing. We want to on a positive, well, on a happier note, I should say. We want to congratulate our brothers and sisters of the BVI Investment Club for their accomplishment of achieving sole ownership of CCT Global Communications. We want to ask you to, well, I personally want to ask you, our viewing audience, for support for our local company. It's important that we as a people who own participate greatly in our communications industry. Communication is one of the most important infrastructures in our economic growth and development and ability to do business. And certainly ownership of one of those major companies, one of those major communications providers, is certainly important for us to have. That certainly goes far in achieving national security. And I want to congratulate the club for that investment and for that achievement. We're going to take a break for a word from our sponsors, and when we come back, we're going to talk to Dr. Kedrick Pickering about fishing, about the fishing complex and his plans for fishing, for the fishing industry, the fishing industry's future in the BVI. Keep it locked right at the Spotlight. We'll be right back after these words.
Spotlight is brought to you by the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, Clarence Thomas Limited, the BVI Tourist Board, and CCT Global Communications.
Welcome back to the Spotlight. I've been joined by the Dr. Honorable Kedrick Pickering, the Minister of Natural Resources and Labor. Doc, welcome to the Spotlight. Thanks for coming on such short notice.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and I thought it's important because I'm a big supporter of fishing as a third economic pillar. And I think it's a really important thing, and particularly in light of what is happening with our two other pillars, that we need some measure of additional security as a people. And I think that is a really good move. Today I had a tour of the fishing complex. What did you want the public to see?
Well, first of all, the drinker, let me say again, thanks for inviting me, albeit at short notice, for to be here with you this evening. We did have the event this evening at the fishing complex, and it was dubbed a soft opening because primarily what we were trying to showcase was the improvements that have been done to the fishing complex in a general sense, and how those overall improvements fit into the bigger picture of making the fishing industry what it could become. But as I said in my remarks this afternoon, that the greatest journey in life begins with one small step. And no matter how long the journey is, you have to take one step at a time. And so it was important for us to really do the things that we've done in order for us to be able to take the next few steps forward.
Okay. Well, you just accomplished a goal that you mentioned in the House of Assembly of vacuum sealing and flash freezing equipment. What does that mean for the product and the consumer?
Well, there are two things about the fishing complex, Edrinka. When I became the minister and had the responsibility for the complex, there were two things that I discovered very early on. One was the fact that the fishing complex just did not have enough storage capacity. So one of the general complaints from the fishermen in particular was that the limitation for them with respect to being able to sell their catch to the fishing complex. I always remember, for instance, example, a conversation I was having with one of the sewers from Aniguiada who do, probably one of the bigger commercial type enterprises. And he made the point that, if I brought in, for instance, 1,000 pounds of fish, and I go to the fishing complex, I would be lucky if I got 500 pounds sold, and then I would have to spend time trying to sell the other 500 pounds. But that was a sort of general cry. So number one issue was to improve storage capacity at the fishing complex. And I'm happy to say now the storage capacity that is there now compared to when we took over is about 6 times what it was when we took over just over under a year and a half ago.
Do you have a total figure?
No, I haven't quantified it in that, but just the physical capacity that we've installed.
So you got more freezers and
we got 2 large freezers. One, the first one that we installed was like almost like twice the size of the original one, and the one that we just recently installed, that's about 4 times the size of the original. So you add those capacity. The second part of the question that you raised had to do with the whole issue of being able to, the fishermen getting paid when they brought in the catch. And although it's still a work in progress, we haven't completely finished that. We're very close to completing that particular process. But overall, in terms of the storage capacity, and you asked specifically about some of the equipment that we've installed, some of the equipment include the ability to vacuum pack the fish. And the second part of that is a flash freeze. Now, what both of those mean is that in terms of the product, when the fish comes in and it is cleaned and prepped, it is immediately put in the storage capacity, and it is compressed into a vacuum. And in fact, I learned today from one of my my scientific members of staff that process actually helps to make the fish healthier because it kills like about 90% of any bacteria that might be within the fish. When you vacuum pack it and you put it in the flash freezer, the fish freezes almost immediately. What that means is that it reduces any burns that the fish might obtain, and it can be kept frozen for as long as you want it to be kept frozen. And when you are ready to eat that fish, it will be as fresh as it was caught the same day. Yeah. So in terms of the product, the general public now have the opportunity basically to get fresh fish on an all-year basis once we get the product in hand.
Yeah, I was reading about it, and they were saying that you could freeze for years.
Yes, the technology technology is such that the fish can stay. So what it means, Edrinka, is that, for instance, once we have an abundance of, say, fresh tuna, we could supply tuna for as long as that tuna is available, and you buy the tuna, and it will be as fresh as it was caught 6 months ago. That's the technology that we now have in place.
So now you're basically buying everything the fishermen can bring in.
Oh, they can't bring in enough now.
They can't bring in enough.
No.
Now, are you paying them immediately?
No, and that's the other thing I said. It's a work in progress. Mm-hmm. What we're doing, for instance, if a fisherman comes in right now, he can call there's a number for him to call for the fishing complex, and someone will meet him at the fishing complex, open the complex, and they will take the fish from him and store the fish, have it weighed and stored. Okay. Once the fish is weighed and calculated, he will get an invoice, and then tomorrow he can take that to the treasury, and the process starts from to get a check. So if he has the time, he can literally get his check sorted out tomorrow. Okay. So that is a tremendous improvement in what was going on before. The process of being able for them to get paid on the spot is still a work in progress because it involves some additional decisions that have to be taken at the level of cabinet to change some financial issues. So we're working on that. But that is...
But a day or two now. From weeks you're talking about a day.
It's a vast improvement than what was there before.
So that's really, and I was understanding that if a fisherman comes in up to say 12 o'clock midnight, he could still get his fish processed.
Not only that, what we've instituted now is on weekends. Remember that we have a significant Adventist population, and so we have fishermen who go out on Sundays. And one of the complaints that I heard during my own research was that what happens, when I go fishing on a Sunday and I bring in my catch? Well, in not only at nights, but on weekends, any fisherman who brings in a catch can call, and someone will meet them there and will take that fish from them, have it weighed, invoice, and because we have the capacity to store the fish and to keep it fresh. And then, so when the regular staff comes in the next day or whenever, they then take over the process of cleaning the fish and preparing it for whatever process it needs to go through, whether fillet, steak, or just put it on display.
And you have trained personnel in the complex now that could fillet, that could...
What
services your complex providing?
We have at least one member of staff who's an expert at the fillet process. I mean, it's a joy to watch her using a knife and filleting the fish. And we can cut the fish up. If your kingfish, your wahoos, we can cut them in steaks to suit whatever size that you may need for your market. But most hotels especially want fillet fish. So we have that facility to fillet any size fish that comes into the fishing complex nowadays.
What is your next goal for the industry?
Well, now that we have the infrastructure in place, and if I may also add, Edwinka, not only did we take time out to add and improve on the storage of the fish, but we've done a complete overhaul of the fishing complex. Simple little things like cleaning, around the building, improving on the aesthetics, painting the building, making sure that the inside floor where our workers are, it is properly, fixed and safe. It is non-skid because the workers are working in water and the fish all day, so they're likely to be injured. We've made sure that all of those issues are taken care of. So I would say that in terms of the infrastructural work that we needed to do. By the way, we also have the facilities for the fishermen to get bait. We know we're producing bait for them. So a fisherman can go to the complex and get any amount of ice. I mean, we have 2 big ice machines that can produce crushed ice, regular, ice that you could use any amount. So anybody who wants ice for their fishing purposes, they can get any amount of it, they can get their bait and can go. So now that we have all of that in place, the next step was exactly what we did this afternoon, which was dubbed a soft opening, to market and put on display the product that you can now obtain. We also gave a tour of the facilities so that folks who were there can better understand not only what we've done, but why it was important and how it gets the product to be better improved for putting on your table and having your meal. So the next step now is to encourage the fishermen who are really interested in fishing to really invest in it as a business, because we have now provided the facilities so that they don't have to worry about the marketing part of it. That would be our responsibility. And as the fishing yield improves, we are going to employ a marketing manager, somebody who will be responsible for selling our produce to the various institutions in the country, the restaurants, the hotels, the yachts, the supermarkets. We're going to employ someone to do that, whether we do it on a full-time or intermittent basis. That will be a part of the next step moving forward.
So as the industry grows, the complex will grow to facilitate the distribution and of the product.
Absolutely. Yeah. And all of that is to encourage the fishermen to relieve themselves of the burden of having to sell the fish.
All you gotta do is fish.
Just bring in the fish.
Just go catch fish.
You don't even have to worry about coming in 5 o'clock. Yeah. If he's not going to get in till late in the evening and he alerts somebody, then it will be taken care of. So all the fishermen have to do now is concentrate on catching fish. So they can invest their time, efforts, energy, resources into how to catch more fish. And they can even become more specialized because, for instance, there's a big market in the BVI for the pelagics. You know, the wahoos, the tunas, the kingfish. There's a big market. It seems like, for instance, kingfish and wahoo, you can't get enough of it. As it hits the market, it literally disappears.
Wahoo's a regular every day on the menu.
It just disappears. Yeah. You know, there's a big market for groupers. So fishermen can become even more specialized now in terms of their equipment, their vessels, their gears that they're working on, because we will be able to take the fish from them when they come in, and they can get their check, take care of their families, invest in their homes, and basically fishing becomes not only their livelihood, but it becomes an industry and a business going forward.
We're going to talk a little bit about the business end of it after we take this break from our sponsors. We'll be right back. Keep it locked right here to Spotlight.
Spotlight is brought to you by Virgin Island Motors, Tortola Concrete Limited, Bolo's High-Tech Printery, and H. Lavity Stout Community College.
Welcome back to Spotlight. I'm Edgy Wenka. I'm having a really interesting discussion with Dr. the Honorable Kedrick Pickering, the Minister of Natural Resources and Labor, and we're talking about fishing. And as you've heard, if you were listening, we just installed some big freezers to store fish. Can't tell you how much fish it could store right now, but lots and lots of fish. Filleting, vacuum packing, flash freezing. I mean, everything is ready, and the best part of all, they're buying all the fish that the fishermen can bring in, and they're planning to pay on the spot immediately when you bring the fish in. But for that's coming. But for right now, you could get paid in a day or two. So it's a vast improvement from what we have before, and I expect that the fishing industry, with this spark, the fishing industry is going to take off. We were talking about business opportunities, and I was saying somebody like me whose hands are just for gesturing. If if I had a few $100,000 stashed somewhere, and I wanted to make an investment, I could make an investment in a fisherman, upgrade his boat, make a deal, get a percentage, and he go out and catch fish. All he does is catch fish and bring it into you.
Right. You know, I think that what it says, Adrian, is that the opportunities abound. And you know, if fishing is something that interests you, the opportunities are there now to make a business out of it, because the industry itself has now the potential to grow and become very significant in terms of the overall economics of the country. I said earlier today, our ambition right now is to provide enough fish for local consumption, meaning that we shouldn't have to import fish moving forward. That reduces our food import bill. By reducing food import bill, it should help create a stable price for fish that you can buy locally. But you're also getting a high quality fish, because with all the facilities that we have, that facility will be able to keep that fish fresh. And you were just speaking, I can't help but reflect on what you were saying about the Minister of Health strategy, overall health strategy. Here's a part of that will fit right into what the Minister of Health is pushing, because healthy lifestyles also depend on a healthy diet.
Yes.
And if a major source of food being protein and good quality fresh fish becomes our number one source of protein, we're on our way for helping the minister for his grander vision of a healthier community. So it's not an isolated event, and it just encourages others to get involved in the industry from a business perspective.
Absolutely, and not to digress, the minister, the strategy includes all the ministries: education, natural resources, and labor, of course, financing. All of the ministries are coming together to produce a holistic plan for the country's development. And certainly, the fishing industry as a sector is, I see as making it happen. I mean, to digress slightly, and we were talking about the National Business Bureau and its role in helping to finance the expansion of the fishing industry, because without a doubt the market is there. So it is a secure, it's a low risk investment for anyone and for banks in particular.
And you talk about the market, Adrianka. In fact, what the team at the fishing complex has now been telling us, that they can't keep up with the demand.
Yeah.
The demand is such that as soon as you get in fish, it literally is disappearing.
So we need more fishermen.
We need more fish.
Need more fishermen.
And when you think that the fish are out there, all we are saying now to people who are interested is now get your ideas together, bring them forward. The individuals who will help you develop your business plan and help to direct you into the fishing industry, which is waiting and ready to take you and help you to as a friend of mine have said, turn fish into concrete.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting concept.
Of course, you sell fish, you get your money, you build your home, you buy your car, you send your kids to college.
That's it.
It's a $1 million, it's a multi-million-dollar industry.
There you go.
And one of the concerns the fishermen have is is the market value for the fish, or how much they're going to be paid for the fish. Is the ministry going to pay them below market value, and so make it more feasible economically for them to go and sell their fish directly to the supermarket instead of bringing it to the complex?
No, in fact, the fishing complex is going to endeavor to pay fair market value for fish, but taking into consideration that you as a consumer, when you go and buy fish at the complex, it is ready for your pot.
Consumption, yeah.
It is ready for your pot. You can pick up fish on the way home, and by the time you get home and have that season, that fish is ready to put on the pot. Okay? As opposed to our cultural ways where fishermen will catch fish, come in, blow horn, as the case might be, and then somebody has to buy it, take it home, clean it, and all that, the time involved. We're bypassing that whole step. So in terms of fair market value, yes, the complex is paying fair market value for fish. And it saves fishermen a tremendous amount of headache of having to worry about how am I going to get this fish.
Headache, time, and money.
Well, and time is what?
Money.
There you go.
Okay. The grand vision for the fishing industry.
Ultimately, what we want to see is that there are cooperatives set up, meaning that the fishing complex that exists as it is right now, when that become a profitable enterprise, as it will be in the not too distant future, government take the position of selling shares in the fishing complex. Over time, those shares are going to be taken up by the fishermen themselves. And over a period of gradual transfer, government will be expected to sell the entire complex to the fishermen, who will be owners and operators of this enterprise. So government gradually eases itself out of the process.
So you're facilitating fishermen ownership of the industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, additionally, what we are working towards is that because of the way how our islands are set up, it is a little bit difficult and a logistical challenge for fishermen, for instance, from Joshua Dyke, Virgin Gorda, Anegada, when they go, especially if they have to go far out north on the south drop, for them to have to come all the way into Port Purcell to sell their fish to the fishing complex. That's an additional cost to them. So the grander vision, you know, in looking into the future, is to build a similar complex on each of the four major islands, one on Virgin Gorda, one on Anegada, one on Joshua Dyke. Not necessarily on a big scale, but sufficiently well equipped that the same level of service that is being offered at the fishing complex here in Roatan can be offered on those islands. And then it saves especially the fishermen from Anegada. It will be a tremendous boost to them, not having to travel all the way into Roatan to be able to sell the fish. You know how much gas they'll be saving?
I suspect all of the islands. Virgin Gorda, Anegada, Joshua Dyke, all the islands are going to be that's a tremendous savings.
So on a grander scale, then each one of those complexes will be owned similarly by the fishermen themselves, owned and operated by them. So their profit margins should increase significantly, and more investments for them, more opportunities for themselves and other persons coming forward. And so you begin to see it unraveling before your eyes, Edjurinka, that this becomes a major part of our economy. And then ultimately it becomes a part of our economic pillar, because as a food source, fish can become a major contributor to our daily lives, not the least of which to our daily living and our means of survival.
And our health.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We got to go. One final thing. Have you paid any attention to sustainability over time regarding the catching of the fish and how we're going to regulate that and so on?
Well, there are two ways to look at that. I mean, there's the legal framework, which basically already exists in the Fishing Act of I think 1997, and then there's the other side of that. For instance, the example that I will use as that we're looking forward to Anegada especially is what is called greening economy, environmental sustainability, to be able to, the complex that we hope to build in Anegada to be able to sustain itself through by putting in a solar plant on Anegada, be able to produce the energy that is necessary and therefore reduce our need for having to use carbon fuels and the whole question of climate change. So sustainability from an environmental point of view, from an economic point of view, because it means that the fishing complex will be cheaper to run. Therefore, it's cheaper for the fish to be stored. It will be cheaper for the fishermen to be able to do what they're doing. It keeps the cost of the fish down. And in the long term, it will help us to be more sustainable moving forward.
Some people are concerned that we will sell off all the fish, we won't have enough to last us a long time.
The Fisheries Act incorporates in it the whole question of protected fisheries area, the protection of marine parks, and when you add that to the National Parks Act and a number of other things that we're working on, the whole question of biodiversity and economic sustainability are already embodied in those two pieces of legislation. And it will only be a matter of enforcing that legislation to make sure that we do not outdo ourselves and destroy ourselves in the long run. And as an addendum to that, Edwinka, is I think the fishermen themselves are beginning to understand that more than anyone, because, for example, the closed season for the red hind has already demonstrated to the fishermen that when you close the season, when you open it back, the fish are there in such abundance that you didn't even miss the time when there was no fish. So the closed season for conchs, closed season for lobsters, closed season for turtles, and any other species that becomes endangered is one way in which the whole question of sustainability is already taken into consideration.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pickering, for coming.
It was a pleasure.
Yes, great information, great job, and I'm looking forward to the expansion of the fishing industry. We're going to be right back after these words from our sponsors with members of the Social Development to talk about Child Abuse Prevention Month. Don't go away. Spotlight will be right back after these words.
Spotlight is brought to you by the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, Clarence Thomas Limited, the BVI Tourist Board, and CCT Global Communications.